to perform music and to win awards, and they said you mustn't win any other awards or you're not going on our school trip. Why must you get all the A's in the class in music, etc.? It was really damaging. And the psychological trauma impact on all these children of incessant, continuous, and horrific and abhorrent racism is something society needs to grapple with, because we're talking about people developing ongoing mental health issues who never had mental health issues from birth, and a low self-esteem and a crisis of identity, and all those other things that we talk about. So it's really important that schools take a leading role, that Welsh Government understands as it continues to work on the new curriculum in Wales. And honestly, Caroline, like Gaynor said, move to Wales. We are miles ahead, and we could use your voice here in Wales to make a real difference. We campaigned, people like Gaynor, people like Betty Campbell, people like Patty Flynn, Mrs. Vanessa Cyril, Roma Taylor, all these elders and have campaigned to embed Black history in the Welsh curriculum as mandatory. And in my lifetime, on the 25th of March, I believe, 25th or 21st of March, 2021, it became law that every school child must learn about Black history in Wales. It is mandatory in our curriculum, in the Curriculum and Assessment Act of 2021. We cannot get away from the contributions of Black people, but also we have a duty to raise the gaze of our children and young people, to teach them Black history. I asked schools when I do talk, did you know that a Black man invented a stethoscope that you use in a GP surgery or in a hospital? No. Many of our Black parents didn't even know. You go into a shop, you go into a lift, it's a Black man who invented the lift. People don't know that a Black man invented the traffic light system, the lawnmower, the lawn sprinkler, the doorknob, the comb, basic things, and wonderful food like peanut butter. It's all Black people. When are we going to teach proper Black history and step away from saying, oh, it's all about slavery? Black people existed before enslavement, so there is a real job to be done to courageously tell our truths and be holding people and institutions to account. And I think this is why we need white allies who understand and who stand with us. If you look at the protest marches during the time of Martin Luther King Jr., there were many white Asian people, maybe whose lives were not as directly impacted as Black lives. People were being lynched and hung on trees at that time, but they stood hand in hand. And I think this is why we all need to have a role to play in embedding an anti-racist culture. But I think a conference like this is an opportunity for all of us to articulate our concerns, articulate our fears, and raise our gaze. Okay, we have a number of messages going on. Principle of inoculation came from Africa. Yeah, well, that's interesting, Kerry. So many comments there. Dr. Heather, would you like to come in with a response? We've had a question that was sent by text saying the NHS in Wales continues to have received reports of racism against doctors, against health and social care workers, their lives as workers here, brought from overseas to help to address the insufficient numbers of healthcare and social care workers in Wales are blighted by racism. What kind of a welcome is this to people who've left their homes, left their countries, and come here to support Wales in the NHS? What do you think the solution is to eradicate racism in the healthcare establishment? Dr. Heather Payne, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Uzo, and thank you everybody for those comments, both in the sidebar and personally, because I will say that we are starting from here in so far as I know that we've had I've mentioned the long history of failure in anti-racism I think it's probably because we haven't actually articulated anti-racism properly and kind of broken it down into the skills we need to make change, to drive change, both and as I've said, personally, managerially, organisationally, so that it's the personal going to the structural, so that we are going on a number of fronts. Now, Gaynor, you mentioned the really bad treatment of some nurses from, they were actually black nurses, but we've had some Asian and Malaysian nurses also experiencing direct racism at work, in the workplace, and that's in 2023. And again, that is why we put in place everything that was driven by the realization of the differences in the pandemic. It was a new stimulus, if you like, even though racism has been with us all this time. So if you kind of say, right, this is starting from now, and all those historical experiences, they're awful. We must learn from them. We must know about them, but we can't change those. We can only change the future. And that's why the RWAP really does try and address those things. And I just briefly skipped over the workforce race equality standard, but when you, and that's quite a detailed document, that actually counts up things like how many ethnic minority staff are there, what promotions are they getting, what hate incidents are they reporting, what grievances and bullying are they reporting, what's their educational attainment if they're in training posts. So it's actually a very, very, we could spend a whole day just on the workforce race equality standard. So that actually is the vehicle by which we will be able to address progress. Now, oddly enough, the fact that we're hearing about these reports is progress. It's not progress of the kind we want, but the fact that we weren't hearing about them officially before, I'm absolutely certain they were happening, but we weren't hearing about them at government level. We are now hearing about them because we have said, we want to know when these are happening, because we want to know what you as employing organisations are doing about it. And actually, some of the reports that we have heard, we've passed it on, because of course there are mechanisms of accountability. The Welsh Government can't just kind of swoop in and do everything. We have to work through the existing systems, because it's somebody's job to make it right. And in fact, the Care Inspector at Wales is now doing an inspection of an area where there have been reports of care workers being racially abused. And there are mechanisms by both complaints, which have to be dealt with by the health board. And if that is not to the satisfaction of the person involved, we've got the mechanism putting things right, which is the complaints and redress mechanism for the NHS in Wales. And a lot of people are unaware that that is there. So again, what we already have a number of building blocks in place. And part of the strategy is to say, let's make sure people are supported to use the mechanisms that are already there, that they're not using, but let's help them to use them so that the wheel of accountability is turned. And throughout the organisation, nobody in boards, nobody at health board executive level can say, oh, I didn't know there was a problem, because number one, they've got to know what the problem is, how much of a problem, because that's how they will change it. And again, Welsh Government it holds the health boards and the schools and local authorities, holds the local authorities to account, and the local authorities hold schools and social services to account. So we have to work through that accountability mechanism. But again, going from here, that's exactly what the RWAP is there to do. There is loads of work below it. I just gave you the tiny little headlines. There's a lot more detail. Please look at it. It is published, and please feed back, because again, that I'm absolutely serious about this channel of listening and hearing. Co-production is not just a one-off and then, you know, one and done. It is a continuous process of listening, modifying. Yes, you have to develop a strategy. Yes, it has to be co-produced, but you have to continue monitoring and responding. So again, that approach is the one which is critical. The past is awful. I'm horrified by it, and I'm also horrified that it is still happening. But the difference is that we now know it's happening at all levels, and we've got a plan to do something about it. So that's as good as I can answer you at the moment, but I am, and there are many people working on this in Welsh Government. There is a very, very strong commitment to hearing what you're telling the system and making sure the system can hear and respond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Heather Payne. Really thought-provoking and real clear steer. I tell you, we have to continue to protest and make sure that individuals that we actually get in here, you know, that raise a complaint, absolutely have the opportunity to complain, you know, and we do something about it. And thanks to all the numerous healthcare providers who came to us, we raised the complaint and got them all in front of the Care Inspectorate Wales, and they actually made that decision to convene an investigation because we had raised the complaint and got them all in front of complaints. In front of please, Care Inspectorate Wales, it will take time. They actually made that decision is being to convene an investigation because we have ejected Alex. These individuals come and they write their names differently. And there's another person called Adam Smith. It's just very hard to know if they are genuine people that you're blocking from coming in. They go out, change their names, come back in. Apologies for anybody that's been affected. So there's any more questions?
So again, in terms of action, I am not prepared to shrug my shoulders on this. This has got to be reported and followed up. And Alex, whoever he is, has got to understand a little bit more about the world. But I wouldn't want to not do something about that. It's awful.
It is, totally. I have been reporting every single one of them. You know, we have a report mechanism through Zoom. We've reported, and we've also noted it to report to the police. They use pseudonyms, so it's very difficult to track them down. But there we go. They won't stop a good thing happening. So any other questions? Put your hand up, electronic hand up for Heather or Gaynor or any other person. Mr. Adam Smith is back, and he was Alex. Please do not allow anybody else to be invited into the Zoom. We need to remove and report. Okay. Sorry about this.
It's typical, though. You know, we talked earlier on about life experiences. You know, that is one of our life experiences, isn't it? You know, so we learn to cope with it and move on and not be deterred.
Absolutely. Chinyere, before you come in, can I ask all our hosts to please not let anybody else in? I will just have to keep a good eye. And if we don't recognize people, we won't let them in now, because we've stopped them being able to post, you know, Nazi graffiti and sexually explicit drawings, which is totally unacceptable in our society. This Wales is a beautiful country that has published a brilliant plan, led and written by our fantastic sister, who's on the platform today, Usha Ladwa, and with the contributions from so many people here. We cannot let these people destroy our peace. It's absolutely impossible. So Chinyere, do you want to make a a comment or ask a question? Okay, I'll unmute you, Chinyere, sorry. Okay, I've asked that you're unmuted. Just
I actually wanted to say that the Welsh government shouldn't work in isolation, because if you want to tackle racism in Wales, is actually more systemic than individual. And there is need for the Welsh government to work closely with institutions, as the transportation system, the social care Wales, We Care Wales, NHS Wales. I'm saying this because working at the African Community Center, we've had a lot of complaints from people who come in here complaining about ill treatments in their places of work. And there is also need for equal outcomes, especially for teachers and health workers. People who are coming with years of experience shouldn't, be allowed to start from ground zero. There should be need for standards to be set, And then another thing is also a call on the part of Race Council Camera as well to also consider trainings in cultural competency, because in recent times, the diversity in Wales have actually, grown beyond what it used to be in the past. And a lot of people they don't necessarily know how to welcome all of that. And there is need for people to be trained. Most people don't know how to relate with people outside of their individual cultures, and there is need for training. Then another thing I want to say is about we, the minority people. I don't know if the anti-racism Wales is actually just about how white people treat the minority groups, because there is also racism, and I think this is the white elephant in the room. There is also racism amongst the minority people. I'm sorry, I've been asked to use my video. Oh, to stop. Should I stop it? Okay, to stop my video, yeah. Sorry, I did you just request that I stop my video? Okay, sorry. Yeah. So as I was saying, there is need for the Black people themselves, the Black people, the other minorities, to also set the standard, on the way we should be treated by other people, by treating ourselves better, because racism is multifaceted between the whites and the minorities, and also amongst the minorities. So when we carry this message of anti-racism Wales, it should not just be on the two divides. It should be across board. So that is where I am coming from. And as well, I wanted to talk about, the need for cultural integration, the need for us as communities, because I have looked at the attendance here, and people are coming from different charities. In our individual charities, there is need for us to also, start programs or projects that will project the whole idea of anti-racism Wales, beyond what the Welsh government is doing. And then also talking about teaching the Black history or anti-racism curriculum in schools. There is need also for school, for this not just to be like lip service. There is need for this to actually be put in actual practice, for models to be put in place on how this should be taught across schools. Because I've heard about people teaching different things that are actually not related to the whole idea of Black history, to the whole idea of, having a curriculum that actually teaches diversity in schools, but teaching something that is, close, but not exactly what it should be. So there is need for us to also set standards on the teaching of Black history across schools in Swansea. That is what I wanted to talk about.
Well, thank you, Chinyere and African Community Center. Really helpful insights. I think the challenge for racism to be eradicated is set. Somebody said yesterday that racism is the pandemic that has been going on from the beginning of time and has been ignored. But I thank the Welsh government and every single person who is doing something about this. We are the first nation in the United Kingdom and around the world where the First Minister has stated that he wants racism to be completely eradicated from Wales by 2030. It's phenomenal. It's unheard of. And I think we mustn't miss the symbolism of such a powerful statement from our own first, our own leader here in Wales. And it's not just been tokenistic. He's put resources in place in Welsh government to ensure that education is the curriculum has the support of the DARPL team. You have a lot of work going on in early learning, etc., etc. So it's really important to mark how far we've come, but to recognize that we have so much further that we need to go. But we have a short window. And I think it was Professor Bona that said, and also Heather reinforced, and Gaynor indeed said, that it is critical that we recognize we will never have this time again. This is a government that totally endorses anti-racism and champions it. We don't know what we'll get in the future here in Wales, but everybody around our room, please spread the message that we all need to collectively work with this anti-racism Wales plan to ensure that the vision we all want to see is effected in our time. Yolanda, can I just bring you in to give us a perspective of what is going on in North Wales, because I know you lead our North Wales hub, and also, I would like to invite Dr. Tolani after you, because she covers Bangor area. Yolanda.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to be here today. I am so pleased that Wales is taking this step forward and be the first one in the world to try to eradicate racism in our society. I understand it's not going to be very simple. We have a lot to do. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be just on our shoulders. I'm very glad we have our allies that tirelessly are working with us on this matter. So here in North Wales, the problems continue, but we're always trying to do the best that we can, in particular trying to eradicate racism. We're still on a moment in time that we started a couple of years ago trying to raise awareness about the hate crimes and racism and try to encourage people to report. Unfortunately, I don't see people reporting as much anymore. I believe they maybe lost a bit of the faith and confidence in reporting to the police because there is not much support in going to court. There are language barriers. There are less information on how to take action on racism because the justice system is not prepared to support all the communities, in particular the ones that don't speak any English or Welsh. It's still a huge problem. Hopefully we can change that. I can't stress enough the importance of the interpretation and the translations for everything that happened, from the NHS, a simple leaflet translated into the most common languages about COVID goes so far and beyond. Not just COVID, but everything else, from mental health. We still don't have any information on what to do, where to go if we don't speak the language. So we do have so much to go to move forward, but I'm glad we are taking steps into the right direction. Everything goes really, really well with the new multicultural hub in North Wales. We all been very quickly, because everything happened so fast. We have to finish this first round of the funding by end of this month. Everybody's been celebrating all the events I've been attending. They were all so successful. But what I would like to see now, because all the BME groups, we get so well with each other, we attend each other's events. I still don't see much of the Welsh community to come to our events. That is what we need, that to break that barrier. We're still trying to find out how. We always translate our posters into English and Welsh to try to make our neighbors welcome, but still it's not happening as much we would like to. So I would just leave you right now. I know you have so much to speak today, and thank you all of you for your hard work. I'm really, really proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yolanda Benavides. Yolanda leads the Race Council Multicultural Hub based in TPAL in Wrexham. Warm greetings to every community member there. And just inviting Dr. Omotolani Somoye. Oh, somebody's left you a message in the chat, Yolanda. Is Dr. Omotolani still here from Bangor? Oh, she must have stepped out. Okay, so we have one question again for you, Dr. Payne. They have asked, how will you ensure that Welsh government puts its actions where its words sit currently? As an advisor to the NHS Chief Executive and to Frank Atherton, what will you particularly do from this conference to make a change and embed anti-racism in your work area?
Thank you. Great question. Do you know what? This is a selling job. And this is because an awful lot of people in the higher echelons, and this is what I'm talking about, the line of accountability. A lot of people who are in charge don't know, they haven't heard the kind of things we've heard today. I've taken a screenshot of Alex's words, and that will be educational for people. And just sharing the shock and horror of that, just, 20 minutes ago, again, being able to actually share that. So structurally, the Anti-Racism Wales Action Plan requires health boards to actually make sure they've got some ethnic minority representation at board level. The Welsh Government has got a shadow board, which has got all protected characteristics represented, and there's a very strong anti-racism focus there, because obviously it's the action plan. So again, Welsh Government as an organisation can model these things structurally, and then and the value of that is being able to say, look, we're not asking you to do something impossible. When we talk to health boards, big multi-billion-pound organisations with thousands of employees, but we're saying to them, this is possible. This is how you structure things. This is the positive action that you can legally take, and therefore we expect you to take it in order to get this outcome, which is representation, voice, and kind of response to lived experience. And it's actually the simple things that I mentioned in my talk, but there's obviously a lot of detail about how you do it. So starting from the top, structure, making sure that there is voice and representation at every level. Process, making sure that managers are skilled so that they know how to address both structural managing upwards and individual managing downwards problems and issues that come up in terms of recruitment, work practices, support groups, induction, exit interviews, positive action for promotion, all the things which are open to them, which again are reinforced by the Public Sector Equality Duty, the Equality Act 2010, and the Anti-Racism Wales Action Plan. So, organisations have to have processes that are actually compliant with law and regulation. Again, so in other words, we've got mechanisms to monitor that. So we've got structural monitoring, we've got process monitoring, and I mentioned again the workforce race equality standard, and that is a very, very potent tool. On an individual basis, again, support for individuals. So first of all, the visibility of something like this, the Hate Hurts Wales campaigns that you should have seen on buses, in public places over the past year or so, and that will be repeated at various intervals. But that also has to be supported by people's confidence in the fact that they will be supported in being anti-racist, or that there is an anti-racist structure to support them when this kind of thing happens. And that's why I'm going to take this back and report it and say, so, you know, somebody has got to find out who Alex is. We've got his photograph. This is recorded. We've got his posting. If he can be identified, that young person needs education. He needs a sanction. And he needs something to make him understand why that's not acceptable, and to make sure that he doesn't do that again. And if he persists in doing it again, because we know he's done it before, then there's got to be a sanction. Because, absolutely, you know, so that on the individual level, people who are experiencing this kind of thing, like nurses, like doctors that I've mentioned in brief, they need to understand and trust that there will be an organizational response to the things that they say. And that's the listening mechanism, that's the reporting mechanism that we're introducing in terms of making it visible, so that, again, it goes up to senior managers and something happens about it. That means the inspectorates use that intelligence and inspect accordingly. So that kind of, again, we could be here all day. I could continue to tell you, but just to say that there are mechanisms at individual, at process, and at top of the shop level, with reporting mechanisms that actually tell us that we are, number one, implementing the very clear objectives, and number two, that it is making a difference. So again, there is always a challenge in implementing things like this, but part of it is the will to do it from Welsh Government. Part of it is the fact that we have such fantastically strong relationships with Race Council Cymru, with East, with all the different organisations, and that's what I meant about clear links, two-way links. It's not just telling people, it's communication. You can't be stuck on transmitting, you've got to listen as well, you've got to receive. So the co-production approach in order to make sure that we modify things as we go along. So again, all I can say is we have tried to listen to all these experiences, these historical experiences, all the things that people have lived through who've spoken today. And as I say, we cannot change the past. We are determined to change the future.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm clapping for you, Heather. Thank you for that. We have John who wants to contribute, but after John, we're going to go on a 10-minute break. By the time we get back, the Minister for Social Justice will be joining us to give her presentation, and that will be followed by Shavana Taj, who's the Secretary General to the Wales TUC. But John's question, and then we'll have a very brief break, comfort break for 10 minutes. We'll start back at 10 past 12. Okay, over to you, John. Okay, sorry. Can you unmute now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to come in at, I think Heather's point around, taking action, where the actions of people, Alex, who's on the line, need to be taken into account, there needs to be justice. And what I would say is on that specific issue, I'm going to send an email at the end of this meeting just to report the fact that there's been an incident that has happened online, but also going back to the points earlier on about taking action, the importance of people when you are subject to behaviour where you feel you've been targeted, discriminated and victimised because of who you are. It's the importance of coming forward and reporting. and not necessarily just to the police. There are lots of third-party sectors, lots of third-party organisations out there. If you don't feel confident in reporting to the police, report it to an area or organisation that you feel comfortable to, because only by knowing and understanding what has happened, the motivations behind, we can actually take action. But also on the issue that has happened here today, I'll drop you a message just so we can convene to make sure that it's a collaborative response.
Thank you very much, John. John's from Gwent Police. It's wonderful to have your support. I mean, we've had 4 separate incidences here. We've had a person who posted a picture of the Nazi leader Adolf Hitler, and there's been somebody who immediately drew a terrible picture of somebody's private parts, and then we've had this human, when they were blocked from being able to share their screen or share anything, they just come on the video, change the name on Zoom, because we've reported to Zoom at least 7 times during this meeting, and they come in a different name and you let them in thinking they're a member of the community. It's shocking. I know they've taken over some conferences and conferences have had to be closed down, which is usually their attempt, but we will forge ahead. Thank you, John. Everybody have a little break. Let's come back at 12 minutes past 12. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you've had a lovely little break, and we're back in the talks. And thank you very, very much for your concerns about the racism that people have been experiencing. Ty, can we have the opening slide, because that is the critical matter for us today. Just a few minutes for you. To put up the opening slide. I'm going to let in some people. Oh, hold on. I just need to check with our IT what's happening. Okay, so we're live streaming, and people externally can see the slide. So to change the layout would be a bit difficult. Please highlight to us urgently if anybody starts trying to post something obnoxious. Please let us know. Okay, prior to the arrival of our Minister for Social Justice, I'm just keeping an eye out for her because she's joining us at 12:15. I just want to highlight that the theme for our session today is to ensure that Wales, here in Wales, we mark anti-racism, the United Nations Day for the Eradication of Race Discrimination. And our theme for the day is embedding anti-racism principles into the fabric of society. So all parts of society are included. If you have never seen it, please take time to look in the link, because I think Paul has kindly posted a series of links for us to have a look at. Paul, thank you very much for all. Paul Brennan has been absolutely brilliant sharing all the slides. That's practicing anti-racism in action. His tweets are phenomenal. Please keep on tweeting and tagging Race Council Cymru. So why did the UN, what have they done recently? We had a delegation from the African Congress that arrived in the UK. And Race Council Cymru were invited to comment on the experiences of Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people in Wales in terms of their experiences of racism. So in February, the African Congress met as part of the United Nations initiative in London to explore and expose the ongoing direct racism experience by Black people, especially people with the darkest skin pigmentation. I mean, you're called all sorts of things: slaves, ape, monkey. You know, you hear all those descriptions of humans that continue to go unchallenged, especially in football, in schools, you know, in healthcare industry, where we heard from Caroline today how poorly her children were treated. We heard from people whose family members were called. There's somebody called Joe. I'm not going to allow them to come in because that seems like yet another name of somebody who's please, can all staff not let this Joe name, because they've had 3 different names now. One was John Smith. And I just think we have to protect those who are here from having to deal with all the abuse that's going on. So it's really important that we recognize the impact that is our work in Wales is having around the world. The African delegation met in London in February 2023, and we were able to send evidence of some of the research that we had done, which highlighted clear evidence of everyday racism in our society. So I want to ask every single person on this Zoom, because you are all people who have been working in this industry for a very long time, or who have had experiences in recent times of engaging in this topic of anti-racism. Can you do us a massive favor? Can you write down in your own words in the chat, what do you think we should do to ensure that Wales is an anti-racist nation? If you could write down your thoughts, that would really help us in collecting feedback for this from this webinar. Please write down your thoughts. What are the things? Thank you very much for being here, Kerry. Thank you for joining us. So what are the things that we believe that people need to do to embed an anti-racist society? Please, please put your comments in the chat. What must we do as a nation, as individuals, to embed anti-racism? And whilst people are doing this, is it possible for us also to explore signing in? The minister has just joined. Hey, the minister is joining us. Hello, Minister. Thank you so much for coming to our conference and coming at a time that is absolutely critical for us here in Wales. Thank you so much for making time. I know you've been very busy. We have heard from Professor Emmanuel Ubona, from Gaynor Legal, from Dr. Heather Payne, and now we invite our absolutely phenomenal Minister for Social Justice, who everybody has known and has met through the work of the Anti-Racism Wales Action Plan, if not before. I have personally worked for Minister, and I have never met a more hardworking human being in my life. I thought I was always busy until I met the Minister. She doesn't stop at all in her quest to ensure fairness, justice, and equity for all the peoples of Wales. So it's a great honor to warmly welcome you, Minister, to address us. Thank you. Minister for Social Justice, Jane Hart. I will press this so that you can unmute yourself. So once you click, then you can unmute. Okay, great.
Diolch yn fawr. So, Prynhawn da I chi gyd. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of Race Council Cymru's Elimination of Racial Discrimination event today. And I think your theme is so important, and I'm hoping to learn a lot from all of your discussions and contributions today. It'll all be fed back to me, I know. But I think this theme of embedding anti-racism principles into the fabric of society is just so powerful. And if we can't do that embedding, we're not going to succeed in the way that we want to work together to tackle the long-term systemic and structural racism experienced by our Black, Asian and minority ethnic people in Wales. So we stand with you. We stand with you to eliminate all racism and to mark this year's United Nations Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, as we did on Saturday. And quite a few of you were there on Saturday. Of course, Professor Iwobi was there alongside myself and many others on Saturday. And I said a few words. I started by remembering how this came about, this United Day, and of course it was the fact that 69 peaceful protesters lost their lives in Sharpeville in the apartheid South Africa. Now on Saturday, just a couple of words. We stood together, we walked together on the Stand Up to Racism rally and march. And I will say that it was really important that I was there at the start, where we had a number of speakers from trade unions, the workforce, but also workplaces, trade unions, and powerful commitments to anti-racism, but also speakers from aggrieved families and campaigns. Starting with the Cardiff Five, what a powerful contribution that we had to start that rally off, to remind us of what Black and ethnic minority ethnic people have experienced in Wales, the lack of justice that they feel still. It was very important for me as Minister to hear that, and also to hear challenges from speakers to the Welsh Government, challenges to say, well, really, are you serious? Can you really think that you could achieve an anti-racist nation by 2030, which of course is in our anti-racist Wales action plan. But I just, again, it's important that we hear these challenges, that we are scrutinized, that we are held to account, any of us who have elected responsibility. I was very pleased to be standing and then marching alongside the new leader of Monmouthshire Council, Mary Ann Rokesby. Now, she was elected last May to that council as a leader, and she was there with us today. And it is local government as well as Welsh government. It's all public bodies. It's everyone who has any power in society who has to take responsibility. So let's just look again at our ambitious and radical anti-racist Wales action plan. It's built on the values of anti-racism. It calls for zero tolerance of racism in all its guises. And it does identify that vision and those values for an anti-racist Wales. It's got goals, actions, timelines for every minister, for every part of the Welsh Government, with tangible outcomes that we expect to move us from rhetoric to actual racial equality and anti-racism, anti-racist Wales with meaningful action. And so many of you, we wouldn't be here, as I said on Saturday, without you contributing, you engaging, you leading the way to get this plan in the place it should be. It's a very practical document, and it's recognizing and based on lived experience. But it is a long process, and we need your help, particularly to do what you're saying in this conference: embed anti-racism into our everyday life. So it was interesting that I was approached by, talked to lots of people there, including a teacher who felt that things were beginning to get some sort of recognition within the teaching profession because of Rachel's leadership, Betty Campbell's daughter, of course. The leadership from Betty is now actually having an impact. But it's that we've got a long way to go. So there will be a bursary, for example. The Education Minister has announced a bursary from September, but if we need to get for a special bursary for Black and minority ethnic teachers to apply for, to come forward. So let's try and make sure we spread the word about that. That's just one example from one portfolio in the Welsh Government. So we've got very strong actions in the plan, as you know, to deliver on our goal for an anti-racist nation by 2030. Can we do it? I think today's event, and there's many taking place around Wales and the wider world, it's a real show of unity against racism that we're all committed to eradicating. And I'm speaking again later on today at a Unison event on the same theme. I think also on Saturday, what was interesting and what's the focus I know this year very much is our support for refugees and migrant rights. And that came over very strongly. I mean, it was just over a year ago, of course, that Putin invaded Ukraine. And we've stood in solidarity with Ukraine and its people. And we have collectively worked, not as I said on Saturday, not just to support Ukrainian refugees, Afghan refugees from Afghanistan, from Syria, and across the centuries from across the world, people fleeing conflict and persecution. And I was very pleased on Saturday to announce that we are continuing our welcome ticket, our welcome transport for all refugees, and also that we continue to fund organisations like Housing Justice Cymru and Asylum Justice Cymru. And I think this is where Welsh Refugee Council, British Red Cross, with all of those are playing a crucial role. And I think it's good for us all to know that the third sector, as you are part of, are playing such a leadership role. But also, the fact is that we did focus on the what's happening for the UK government rushing through this horrific so-called illegal migration bill. It came over very strongly on Saturday, and I'm sure it will today. But yes, this is our responsibility to embed our principles, anti-racist principles. But we must call out this bill, the new plan, so-called plan for immigration, very much following the Nationality and Borders Act. It's severely undermining our vision of Wales as a nation of sanctuary, and the rhetoric coming out of it and coming out from the Conservative government is corrosive and undermining. And we do believe that the bill will breach international conventions, it will violate basic principles of justice, it will place ultimately extreme and insurmountable conditions on people who have sanctuary in our support. And yes, you know, let's face it, after the Windrush scandal, the UK government assured us it would see the face behind the case and say that there'd be a more compassionate approach. But this rings so hollow now when we look at this bill. And we will stand against it. And I'm sure this will be supported by our Senate. We have the opportunity to make a stand on this, because any bill from the UK government that actually has an impact on us in Wales is subject to a legislative consent motion, which is basically, do we consent as a Parliament, as Senate, to this bill? I'm pretty confident that there will be a no, we won't consent. We haven't debated it yet, but it will come to us. So we are proud to be a nation of sanctuary. We're proud of the way people come together to create that unified and welcoming experience for people who've been resettled here. And I look forward to attending the Nation of Sanctuary Awards next week. I think that will be a great event where we'll recognise the huge contribution of refugees to our nation of sanctuary, because we will always be a welcoming nation. Just a few other quick points, because you've got a very busy agenda, but we are committed to an anti-racist Wales, and that has to be about working closely with partners across Wales. So I will be chairing a policing partnership board on Thursday, and that will include representation from the UK government. Policing isn't devolved, although we would like it to be devolved, but we take responsibility. And I know that the Criminal Justice Board and the criminal justice partners in Wales with that anti-racist action plan is very much in accord with our plan, and we will be having a conference about a one public service approach to anti-racism in a few weeks' time. But we do fund the community cohesion programme, but also our Hate Hurts Wales anti-hate crime communications. And I have to say, there's some pretty horrendous stuff on social media that is sadly coming from people with power in Wales, and we have to call that out as well. But when we talk about working with the police, I've met with them recently to talk about their Wales Police Schools programme, and they and said to them, and they're reviewing this needs to be challenging misogyny, racism, homophobia, as well as talking about the key issues of prevention from substance misuse, etc. But this is, and they are ready to discuss these issues. So we have to work together to eradicate racism, eliminate hate crime, and tackle far-right extremism. And unfortunately, the far-right extremism is here also and coming to Wales, even in coming days. So we've got to recognise that for anyone in the front line, as well in local government, health, education, they have a responsibility, but also to make these changes, but also for many in the Black, Asian and minority ethnic community are recognising they're at the sharp end often of that racism, which still has such a corrosive effect on people's lives. So much has been done by yourselves and all your colleagues. I wanted to just say something that happened in my community that I represent in the Vale of Glamorgan, where there has been an anti-refugee threat actually on this occasion, which has been targeting Ukrainian refugees. And Clantwick Major Football Club, a small football club in a small town in Wales, they actually have some Ukrainian refugees in the team now and supporting the team. And they've recently put out a very strong message, and I'll just read out to you. They said that they and anyone else who wants to call Llantwit their home will always be welcome at our football club. Racism and hatred will not. So if a small football club in Wales, in a village, small town, can say that, that's what we want resonated throughout the whole of Wales. And I believe people will resonate that message. It's been very, very much welcomed and liked across the board. I wrote a letter to Robert Jenrick, the Immigration Minister, last week. The letter is public. I'll ask my officials to put that letter onto the chat so you can see what I've said as Minister about the illegal migration bill that is being pushed through Parliament with the most terrible implications for the people of Wales and the people of the UK, of the whole of the United Kingdom. And this is where we unite together. It is, and finally to say on that, it amounts, as the UNHRC says, to an asylum ban, and it's a clear breach of the Refugee Convention. So we look outwards, we look to ourselves, we test and scrutinise ourselves. But this is a very important day and a very important event. So thank you for enabling me to contribute. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you so much, Minister. Absolutely spot on, and thank you for your leadership in this space. Many people wish that they could be in Wales. We've just heard from our fantastic sister in England who joined us today, Caroline Pile, and Gain Olegal suggested that she moved to Wales because her children are going through what many of our children are going through, and she was able to hear what you have led, Minister, the dramatic change in policy by publishing this anti-racism Wales plan, and also by making mandatory the teaching of Black history. It's phenomenal leadership, and we look forward to supporting you as you continue to drive this change forward. We have a moment in time, and we must grasp it with both hands. Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much. And now we're going to have our final speaker for this webinar, and she is the formidable, the outstanding, the absolutely no-nonsense powerhouse that is the first Asian woman to be the Secretary General to the Wales TUC, a known activist, and you will see Shavana carrying a placard at every anti-racism rally, representing the unions and challenging employers to take note of and have due regard to their duties under the Equality Act and a variety of other acts. So today, warmly welcoming Shavana Taj to close the conference. You're welcome. Please speak to us. Thank you very much. I'll invite you to unmute now. We had a terrible experience at the start, Shavana, where somebody came on and started posting Nazi images and posting, drawing. When they were blocked from sharing their screen, they started drawing male parts. And then we had a lot of the N-word coming out, and they would change their names and come back on under a different name and start again. And we've got a video. So we had to block everybody, and that's why it's taking time to unblock people. But this is what Wales is trying to change. And I'm glad Dr. Omotolani is here because she will have the final word after you've spoken. Thank you, Shavana.
Thank you, Uzo, and thanks everyone. In terms of what you've just said, with people joining the call and doing all sorts, I guess in a way, it just means that we must be doing something right. If people, want to spend their time doing, creating such nonsense and trying to cause havoc. But the fact of the matter is, we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop up until that time where we do genuinely have not only equality, but we have equity in Wales. And equity clearly is very, very different to that. Now, like many people on this call or others that haven't been able to join us, I was at the demonstration on Saturday. And the one thing that hugely, massively stood out to me was the numbers of families that are still continuing to seek justice for whether it's from the Cardiff Five, whether it's the Family for Justice campaigns for Mahmoud Hassan, Moeed Bashir, and Christopher Kapesa, to, of course, having Sianda Mangaza herself speak about her personal experience and how her mother had continued campaigning for her, as had many others. And now that she is out, like the Cardiff Five, she is still seeking justice because she does not believe, as do others supporting her campaign, that it should have happened in that way in the first place. Now, this is about, people say that you have to have trust. And when it comes to the police, of course, the infamous saying by Robert Peel, the people are the police and the police are the people. We can't get to that stage up until we genuinely have justice for these families, and that people feel safe when they're simply walking down the street. And particularly, of course, when somebody has been in a situation like Sianda has. So full solidarity with those families and the campaigns. But secondly, I wanted to also, of course, talk a bit about what is exactly happening and what is it that the union movement is doing. Now, the union movement itself, yes, we campaign and yes, we support the Welsh Government's position on Wales becoming an anti-racist Wales by 2030, but we also know how tough and challenging that's going to be. And in order to do that, we knew that we had to have a moment of reflection ourselves, and we are now going through, just like when it comes to sexual harassment in the workplace, I say to many people that these are worker issues. So anti-racism is a worker issue, and if the union movement is organizing in workplaces and representing workers, then nonetheless there will be racism and discrimination within our own structures and within our own rankings. So we are doing a lot of work internally in order to address those things. But we've worked very closely with the Welsh Government to highlight how racism has blighted the lives of Black, Asian and minority ethnic workers. We've been, as I say, moving towards anti-racism as a collective movement. We know that it's not going to be something that only one of us can do by ourselves. We know that it's going to take a real sort of cultural and seismic shift in order for us to get there. And our focus is predominantly about, people who are working in Wales, whether they are a member of a union or not, because we know that, for example, when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that racism was a massive factor in terms of the experiences of individuals, particularly those on the front line. Many of them have continued working on poor quality contracts. They have little or no security or even chance of progression, and often have very poor workplace health and safety provisions. And of course, during the pandemic, we saw more of that, and there was lots of issues around the PPE. So we have, whilst we have, like many others, commended the Welsh Government for, pushing on and doing this important work, we know that this is actually just the first step in dismantling that really complicated structural, racist system, which has long discriminated against Black, Asian and minority ethnic people. Now, the other thing I wanted to also mention today, of course, and I think the Minister discussed this as well, and that is what the UK government is currently doing in relation to the first, of course, the infamous Windrush scandal, and then from there onwards, what we've seen over the last few weeks in relation to the Suella Braverman and the new bill that they are looking to push forward with, regardless of whether or not it is compatible with the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, the union movement back in January supported 21 trade unions, including PCS, Unite, Unison, the NEU, the RMT, many others, representing 4 million union members signed up to the Migrant Workers Pledge. Now, this specifically was launched by the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants, and it focuses on migrant rights. And it is really important that we talk about migrant rights and the call specifically for the end of exploitation of migrant workers, including undocumented people as well, because we know that many of these individuals work within our public services quite often in procured out services. And we know that visas are really important. So the pledge calls for visas which provide workers with stability, need flexibility when it comes to change of employers, and of course the ability for them to be able to build their lives in the UK, build their lives in Wales, and for this to be really a separation between immigration enforcement and of course labour inspectorates as well. And we are campaigning then for employers not to assist the Home Office with immigration raids in workplaces and communities, because we are very clear that we will not support any government's attempt to pit one worker against another worker, because we recognise that united we are most definitely stronger, and that an injury to one is an injury to all. Now, we've seen firsthand, actually, what outsourcing does, the damage that it causes, particularly in relation to the civil service, facilities management, in particular, the functions there. And what that does is it has very much so created a two-tier workforce in workplaces, whereby outsourced workforces in many places, predominantly made up of migrant workers, receive significantly worse paying conditions compared to their civil service co-workers, and they're generally treated with a lack of dignity and respect. So ending this institutional racism is a massive issue. It's really, really important. Now, over the last few months, of course, since last year, you would have seen some of you may yourselves have been involved in some of the strike action that has been taking place. I'm glad to say that here in Wales, we are now in a position where there is an offer in health and in education that is currently being considered. But the other thing, of course, is that the UK government, in addition, has decided to bring in a strikes bill. Now, that strikes bill, again, is going to have a detrimental impact on Black, Asian, minority, ethnic workers in particular. And the Equality Trust, the Joint Council for Welfare Immigrants, and the Runnymede Trust have now actually warned that this strikes bill is going to have a huge step backwards for tackling racism at work in Britain. So the strikes bill is now set to go to the House of Lords at the end of the month. If that passes, the bill means that when workers lawfully, this means that when they are legally entitled to take strike action, whether it's in health, education, fire, transport, border security, and nuclear decommissioning, they could be forced to attend work. And if they refuse to attend work, they can be sacked if they don't comply. Now, we know that Black and minority ethnic workers are overrepresented in these sectors that are being affected by this legislation. So they are disproportionately going to be hit by that bill. Now, you already know that this adds to the already unfairly targeted for, workers are already targeted for dismissal by unscrupulous employers, given the discrimination and racism in every corner of the labour market as well. And so we know that, for example, when it comes to 0-hour contracts, we know that Black and Asian minority ethnic workers are overrepresented in insecure contracts. Women actually are twice as likely to be on 0-hour contracts in comparison to white men. And we also know that they are more likely to be unfairly disciplined at work or being passed over for promotion. We also know that over half of workers have told the TUC that they've experienced at least one form of discrimination consistent with institutional racism. And that's 1 in 7 workers had reported facing unfair criticism in the last 5 years. Now, the data is all there that completely backs all of this up, but also there were, during the pandemic, of course, the RCC and other organisations held a number of listening circles where workers in Wales from these backgrounds were sharing their own personal stories about how they would be being impacted in the workplace, some of the issues and difficulties around their visa and immigration issues. And so given what the Minister has just said, and of course the Welsh Government itself has made it very clear that when it comes to the strikes bill, it is not something that they will be supporting. And again, of course, the Minister has already said that they are soon to discuss some of the latest introductions to the immigration changes that the UK government wants to push ahead with. Now, with all of these things that are happening, it is really important that we take full advantage of the fact that we have a very upfront anti-racist Wales action plan. So any person that is sat on any of the external advisory groups, the oversight committees, or anyone that is currently campaigning, please make sure that you make yourselves fully aware of what that plan is. Where there are gaps, it does not mean that those gaps can't be filled. This was a starting point, but please make sure that you add your voice, not only when it comes to, of course, being on the streets, being on the picket lines, campaigning within your own communities, but also that you do your best to try and raise these issues within those circles as well. But in order for change to happen, the truth is that we are going to continue to have to make a number of people who are in big decision-making circles uncomfortable, because the truth is uncomfortable. And we are about to enter, of course, there is the COVID public inquiry that is currently taking place. Many of the voices of the individuals who sadly lost their lives, we know that when it came to those that lost their lives and frontline workers, it was predominantly Black, Asian, minority, ethnic workers and disabled people. Now, we have to make sure that we center their voices in that inquiry, but that we are also very clear that we are not going to be prepared to stand back and to accept, we've seen over the last 24 hours some of the shenanigans with the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson and what he believes he was telling people. That he believed that he was simply taking advice. Again, in Wales, we had a different approach from our government, that they did work in social partnership with us. We did introduce a number of different ways of working collaboratively and together. But now, going forward, if we are not on the ball, and if we're not prepared to call people out where we know that they are ongoing, structural, systemic racism and discrimination, and of course, all of these issues intersect with many other things as well. And that is what the plan has attempted to do as well. There's a number of other equality action plans as well. So I don't want anyone to think that when it comes to those other action plans, that your voices are not welcomed. And the only things that Black workers can talk about are Black issues either, because all of these issues intersect, and these are all issues that affect every single one of us. But my final call is this. If you are a member of a union, please don't just be a member and just go, okay, I'll call on them when I need them. Now more than ever, your union needs you. We need your voices. We need your leadership. We need your fire in your belly. We need you to be making those demands, not be waiting for anybody else to do it for you. There are networks. We have, there's a network at the Wales TUC. I myself am available. There are a number of other people who you can talk to as well. And if you're not a member of a union, make sure that you join one today, and join one and get active and support the campaigns in your workplaces, because those action plans that we currently have, they eventually will land in your workplaces, and it's important for you to be our eyes and ears. We need to know, are those plans, are those changes coming through, and are they making a difference? Because if they're not making a difference, we have the opportunity to pivot and to do something different. This isn't about having one clear plan and that's the only thing that we ever do. There are lots of flexibilities and opportunities here, but we have to stick together as communities, as workers, and we have to support one another going forward. So thank you, Uzo, and thank you to the RCC and all of the previous speakers as well.
Shavana, thank you very, very much for your absolutely fantastic speech today to close this conference. We have one question that's been WhatsApped to me, but before I share it, I wanted to see if Dr. Omotolani was going to be leaving exactly at 1. Do you want to say something very quickly, Dr. Tolani, as our lead for Race Council, Deputy Lead Race Council in Bangor area? I'll unmute, I'll give you the option to unmute and speak. Okay. We can't hear you. We can't hear you for some reason. Is your volume up? Try me unmuting again.
Mute.
Yeah, that's better.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's been an amazing event with excellent speakers today. My name is Dr. Omotolani Shumwe, and I represent Race Council Cymru in Northwest Wales. That's in Bangor. I'm so pleased to be here and to hear everything that concerns inequality, especially in Wales. And Race Council Cymru has been involved in events, educating the public, because we have a growing Black community, especially in North Wales. And we've been involved in so many projects, decolonizing projects with the National Museum of Wales. We've been promoting Black artists as well. We've been educating the public. And I just want to end by saying that we all have the responsibility. If we want change, we have to be the voice. If we want change, we have to be the eyes. If we really want change, we have to keep pushing it. Like the previous speaker said, we're not going to give up. We keep pushing, we keep talking about it, we keep promoting it, we keep taking actions till we see what we want to see. Thank you very much. And bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Tolani. Awesome. So we have a question, Shavana, from one of our attendees, and they've said that they want to ask you what you are doing as Wales TUC to address the fact that concerns continue to rise that trade unionists attached to organizations, especially in the health and social care industry, are more aligned to the actual organizations that are accused of perpetrating institutional and structural racism than in supporting their members, so that they're caught between a rock and a hard place with very little support. What can they do? Thank you.
So this goes back to what I was saying. So the TUC set up an anti-racist task force during the pandemic, actually, and a part of that was the unions themselves needed to do some work. The Unison in particular, which is one of the biggest unions, along with GMB and Unite. Those are the three big unions, and of course you have the Royal College of Nurses as well. Have all got a plan now, and they are very much looking to see what the Welsh Government Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan is. And a part of this is they're making sure that internally they have their balance right. So when it comes to the negotiating bodies in particular, that they have representation on those bodies, that their democratic oversight internally within the union's own structures are correct. So Unison this evening actually are going to be launching an event at the Senedd. They're making it very clear what they will personally as a union be doing. They've called it 2023 is the year of Black workers. So they're being very bold and very clear in terms of what they need to do. And unions themselves are now are putting some checks and balances in place so that if a Black worker has put in a claim for racism or discrimination and felt that the local union representative did not actually fairly represent them, that there will be scrutiny of that case. And if the person feels that that person is not the best person to represent them because maybe they feel that that individual has a close relationship with the local manager, then again, there will be somebody else who would be brought in, who would be completely independent to that process. So there is this kind of work going on, but nonetheless, I'll be very upfront and say that the union movement itself has a lot of work to do, but equally there is good work being done. So we have had, so we often have, so if you are from a Black minority ethnic, Black Asian minority ethnic background, we know that in the public sector in particular, union membership is very high. The issue that we still struggle with is we don't have as many people coming forward and getting active. So I would ask everybody, get involved, get active, and start, pushing on that democratic side of things, stand for positions. If anyone needs any support to stand for those positions, then, myself and others are always available to have that conversation with you about how we can support you to do that.
Thank you very much, Shav. Any other questions for Shavana and the unions before we finish for the day? Okay. I think we've come beautifully and on time to the dot 1 o'clock to the end of the United Nations Day for Eliminating Race Discrimination webinar. I thank every single person who has attended at some point. I want to thank the Twitter stormer for the day, Paul Brennan. You are my hero. I'm simply going to absolutely chase you down to make sure you can come and do some more tweeting for us. You've been absolutely amazing. Everybody who's tweeted, who shared a comment, is keeping that conversation of anti-racism going. People who posted excellent ideas for us. Our team, the Race Council staff, are all on board and they've been collecting all your comments. And we're going to create a document that we're going to be sharing on our social media platforms just so that people can hear what the people of Wales are saying is a way forward for anti-racism, because Race Council Cymru does not represent itself. It represents the voices of the grassroots and voices of people around this room. I just want to thank every single organization, every single speaker who made the time to come here. And I also want to thank our lovely sister Caroline Pillay from London for coming to share her own lived experiences. We wish you and your children all the very best. Please come and live with us in Wales. We need your voice here to shake things up. I thank every speaker, Judge Racing, Professor Emmanuel Obona, Gaynor Legal, Dr. Heather Payne, Shabana Taj, and of course, our Minister for Social Justice, Jane Hart, MS. So I want to also encourage you to join us for the 75th anniversary of the Windrush Elders. We're celebrating in Wales the 75 years of the contributions of Windrush generation on the 22nd of June at the Senate. The elders want to march carrying the flags of the different 56 nations of the Commonwealth that they represent. So please make your way to the Senate on the 22nd of June. You cannot miss it for life because many of our elders will not be here in the next 75 years. So come and honor their legacy and the work that they have done. We have so many other events planned for the year around Black History, marking Black History. We don't have Black History Month. We have Black History 365 because it should be every single day of every week of every month of every year. So join us on a variety of initiatives. This year, as you remember, our theme for Black History is young people, the time is now. So the time is now to continue to orate and speak our truth about the need to tackle racism in all its form. We've all experienced blatant racism on this call and it carries on, but we are undeterred in our quest to continue to fight for equality and social justice. So a big, big, big thank you to everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day and blessings follow you in wherever you're going and wherever you do. Let's keep up this good fight. Have a good day, everyone. And a big, big cheer to Taiwo Okeneye from Vivid Block, who managed a complex IT situation today to keep blocking all the different imposters. Must have been a challenge. Thank you, Taiwo, for live streaming us as well. Think about Vivid Block, check them out. They're a brilliant IT company. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.
Recording stopped.